GM Foxes. Thank you all for joining this Fox Foundation intro and AMA. We're just getting all the foundation members up on stage, and we'll start here in just a couple minutes. Welcome Conscience, welcome Ocean. Jim. Welcome Aquaman, Imperkling, T-Shifty, Theobald. Hey Daniel from Ichi, good to see you. I think Adam is probably wrapping up stand-up. Take him real quick. All right. GM. Oh, hiccuped right when I was saying that. GM, everybody. Welcome to this Fox Foundation intro and AMA. Really excited to introduce the foundation members to you and talk about our mission, and most importantly, just get some one-on-one time with the community and answer any questions that you guys have about the Fox Foundation. All right, so without further ado, would like to start off just asking each member of the foundation to give a brief introduction about themselves and their title and role at the foundation, and then we can talk a little bit about the foundation at a high level. Ocean, would you be willing to get us started?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Willie. Thanks for everyone for joining today. Also, very excited to kind of introduce the foundation to everyone and start taking a more active role in the DAO in general. I'm Ocean. I'm joining the foundation as head of technology. Pretty excited about this being the only job I've ever had where the real goal is to work myself out of that job. So that's great. Some brief background on myself. I have most of my early career spent in finance, working on trading systems in the prop trading world in Chicago, developing algorithms and large scale low latency trading systems. And then in about 2017, really kind of went full crypto, started a very early DeFi protocol called Market Protocol that was trading derivatives on top of Ethereum, and that project ultimately did not succeed, but I got a lot of great experience in learning about community building and growing open source development communities. And from there, spent some time working at Amazon for about 2 years before I've joined back into crypto full time. Most recently was working with ShapeShiftDAO, and then now moving on to the foundation.
Awesome. Thanks, Ocean. Really glad to have you on board. And I'm realizing now maybe we should just take a step back before going on to other introductions, realizing that some members of the community might not have heard about the foundation yet. So I'll just give a quick 50,000 foot high view, and then we can get back into individual introductions. So for those of you that haven't heard, the Fox Foundation was announced in the ShapeShift decentralization announcement, but we're still in the process of setting it all up. It's a not-for-profit Liechtensteinian foundation. Its mission is to basically support the DAO in achieving full decentralization. And like Ocean said, once we've achieved that, our secondary mission is to fire ourselves and dissolve the foundation itself. And at that point, the DAO will be fully independent and won't need any foundation or any legal entity, and it will be fully decentralized. So that's the purpose of the Fox Foundation and why we're here today, introducing ourselves to the community. We'll dive more into the details about how we're going to do that in a bit. All right, thanks, Ocean. Conscience, can you introduce yourself?
Yas. My name is not Conscience, but that's the moniker I'm going by. I have been working in infrastructure for over 20 years. It's pretty much been my entire career's bread and butter. I was originally hired as ShapeShift's first dedicated infrastructure engineer. Before that, I was working in high-frequency trading, supporting high-frequency trading environments with sub-second SLAs and that kind of thing. So it was a pretty natural transition to coming to work for ShapeShift. I've been supporting the infrastructure here for 5 years, and I think it was a pretty natural progression for me to then go and continue to support the environment at the foundation, and also help in its eventual exploding and decommissioning. Looking forward to helping the DAO teams disassemble the stack bit by bit and build a next generation technology ecosystem.
Awesome. And what was your title again, Conscience? I was actually wondering that earlier when I was working on it.
Yeah. Yes, we agreed on head of infrastructure.
Nice. That's actually what I was thinking. That's what I guess. So maybe I had it somewhere in my subconscious.
Head of flamethrowers.
All right, Adam, you're up.
Hi, GM everyone. I'm Adam. I'm presently principal engineer at ShapeShift AG and architect at the Fox Foundation. I've been developing software for most of my life, really, professionally for about 20 years now. Started my journey down the crypto rabbit hole about 8 years ago. Haven't looked back and haven't found the bottom yet. I joined ShapeShift AG in 2018, led development of the second incarnation of CoinCap, which is what's up on coincap.io today, before leading development of the centralized ShapeShift platform that's up on beta.shapeshift.com. So an amazing culture, great tech, and just working full time on frontier of the cryptographic financial revolution has really made this a highlight of my career. I couldn't be more bullish on our future as a DAO and in helping the DAO achieve full decentralization and putting us all out of jobs, as Ocean said.
Yes, it's been such a pleasure working with you, Adam. And I'm excited that we get to continue on this journey together at the foundation. I guess I'll give a little bit of my background. Yeah. I think most of you guys know me now, but I don't know if I've ever shared my background with you. I went to school at University of Colorado, ended up dropping out my last semester to do a startup that we had started as a class project. So I come from the Web 2 world. That was a legal tech startup, and ran that for 5 years and learned quite a bit. We ultimately sold the company, and it wasn't a huge sale, but we were able to pay back the investors and get a little bit for the team. And immediately after that, I started Bitfract, which was a cryptocurrency company. It was the first tool where you could trade Bitcoin for multiple digital assets. And we used ShapeShift API, ShapeShift's trade engine, is what powered it. And it was a free tool, and ShapeShift shared a percentage of the volume we drove as affiliate revenues. And 6 months after starting that, ShapeShift acquired Bitfract and the team. Al is another was one of the co-founders. He's a part of the Treasury Management and Diversification Committee. And they mainly brought us in to work on beta.shapeshift.com, the new version of ShapeShift. Got to work with Adam on building that out. And yeah, I've been working at ShapeShift ever since then. I was principal product manager there most recently. It really helped strategize the roadmap and work with the product team and engineers and other stakeholders to build and ship features for both ShapeShift Web and the mobile app, and helping to figure out this transition to a DAO and setting up all the DAO stack and the airdrop and everything. That was a ton of fun. yeah, we're now working as head of decentralization at the foundation is really a dream come true. I cannot think of a more valuable endeavor to invest my energy into. I think that I'm just as bullish on crypto as many of you, and as Adam, if not more. I'm pretty permeable, and I couldn't have more conviction that we are building the future of finance and really the future of applications. And I think that there's so many amazing projects being built, and but I think that in order for these projects, these protocols, and this decentralized future to become reality, we need a decentralized interface and a decentralized blockchain infrastructure. And I think that ShapeShiftDAO is in the best position to deliver on that vision. And I'm hopeful that I never want to be a CEO again. And I'm hopeful that the foundation will be my last entity that I ever work for, because I just love working for DAOs and with communities, building cool stuff on the internet. It doesn't get much better than that. So,
college dropouts represent.
What'd you say, Conscience? I missed.
Said college dropouts represent.
Represent. Yep. Well, I promised my parents that if the first startup failed, I'd go back. Unfortunately, looking like I'll never have to go back, and now I'm just going to the school of the DAO.
That's awesome. And there's one member that couldn't make it today of the foundation that we would be remiss not to mention. Her name's Mish. You might see her around the Discord here and there. She's been really invaluable in helping us to make the transition from, or just kind of get set up in general. She, what is exactly her title? Chief of Staff? I'm not even sure.
Yeah, Chief of Staff.
Yep. You can see titles mean a lot to us. But she's been a great asset to us already, and we're really excited that she's on the team as well. So you may see her around, and feel free to reach out to her as well.
Awesome. So as you guys can see, we've got a rock solid, lean team for the foundation. Great background, great diversity of skills. And yeah, Ocean, maybe you can tell the community a little bit about what our mission at the foundation will be.
Yeah. So, Willie started to allude to some of it, but if you guys can imagine right now, we have centralized ShapeShift, which was maintaining infrastructure for all of the applications that ShapeShift was, you guys may have been users of, right? So the legacy web app, I'll call it legacy now since the new V2 is at least out in an alpha version. And things like CoinCap as well. And so there's a large operational footprint that needs to be maintained for those services to continue to operate. A lot of that infrastructure is ran in AWS. And the foundation, first and foremost, is the steward of that current infrastructure. And as you kind of heard, our main goal is to continue to reduce that infrastructure, decentralize that infrastructure, move it to a place where it is DAO owned or member owned. And we don't control it any longer. And so that's really a large portion of our initial responsibilities. It's much more than that, but that is where we currently are focused a lot on, especially Conscious has been working on a lot of cost savings measures to bring our budget as low as is feasible. As we make the transition to fully decentralized applications, where V2 is meets feature parity with the current beta.shapeshift.com, and we can begin to deprecate that and migrate users fully to the new web app and get rid of a lot of the legacy infrastructure that we have to maintain. Foxchain is definitely a part of that vision. We have some upcoming other projects that we are going to be working on and collaborating with the DAO on. We can talk more about, but moving the front end hosting to IPFS. IPFS is one of those. Again, just one more piece of decentralized infrastructure that is no longer controlled by a centralized entity. And the DAO has full autonomy to rule and govern as they see fit. One of the other places, besides kind of the infrastructure that we need to maintain, that we want to help the DAO going forward, is kind of a legal entity of last resort almost, which is we hope that the members of the DAO and the vendors that we might have to interact with and other projects will be able to be flexible with us and find alternate solutions where we don't have a legal entity for the DAO. But if all else fails and we can't find a path forward, the foundation's entity could be used for agreements with vendors, contracts, those things of that nature, where we may not have the ability yet to operate in a fully decentralized manner. And then the final thing that I'll mention is just that we, as a foundation, are a small team. We do have a very healthy budget for us to operate within, and that I think will allow us to be very agile in our ability to help the DAO move quickly in places where governance may not be able to move as quickly. So that's kind of a really nice, unique situation for us to be in, where we do have that flexibility to operate outside of the governance process, not in a way that's detrimental, but in a way that is, we are all token holders and DAO members as well. So in the benefit of the DAO, but it's really nice to be able to have that core team with the flexibility that we have to move quickly early on.
Awesome. Thank you for laying that out. And really excited to pursue this mission with you guys. I think one way to put it all into context is that, ShapeShift has been around since 2014, and ShapeShift the corporation. And you announced in July that we're going full DAO, fully decentralized. And so we've been in this process of transitioning everything. And currently there are some things that a DAO just can't yet do, such as have a bank account and pay bills in fiat, or host servers, or put an app into the App Store. And these are the types of things that we do hope many of them will get solved over the coming years as DAOs eat traditional work and replace it. But just these things don't exist today. So these are the types of things that the foundation will be helping to facilitate and replace or figure out ways that the DAO can manage these things independently. Those are really some of the main things we're focused on. But in addition to this mission of decentralizing, you can also just think of the foundation as almost like an independent work stream. So to be clear, the DAO doesn't control the foundation, and the foundation has no control over the DAO either. But we have our own set of resources. We're not requesting funding from the DAO. We're very well resourced, and you can think of the foundation as just another tool or another support arm for the DAO. And anytime that the community does have requests for the foundation or needs from the foundation, we just set up a partner channel here in Discord. Anyone in the community is welcome to come in there and chat with us and make these requests. But regardless, even if no requests are coming in, we're always going to be just looking at what are the most important things that we can do to add value to the DAO, to support the DAO. And our primary mission, of course, will be to eventually get rid of the need for the foundation and enable the DAO to be fully self-sufficient and, again, fully decentralized. So I guess maybe another thing that will help the community understand the foundation is just to give some context on some of the things we're currently working on and some of the initial projects that we have on our roadmap. Conscience, do you want to talk about your upcoming proposal for DAO-owned infrastructure?
Yeah, sure. One of the things that one of the initiatives we're going to be pushing forward early is one of the things that is a cornerstone, not only to sort of enable the DAO to come of age like very quickly, but also to empower the foundation to start divesting itself of that responsibility that it currently has, is to put forth a governance proposal that will basically enable the DAO to have a proxy by which a proxy that will operate infrastructure on behalf of the DAO, basically. So right now, the DAO depends on legacy ShapeShift infrastructure, legacy ShapeShift environments to run its stuff. And if the DAO is ever going to be able to exist on its own, and if the foundation is ever going to be able to divest itself of itself, then we need to get to a point where the DAO is able to run its own endpoints and run its own software, run its own hardware. So very quickly, here probably in the next week or two, after some brief review, we're going to be positing a governance proposal. Without getting too deep into the details of it, we're going to be leveraging an existing relationship with someone who's already running infrastructure for the DAO, but only with the scope of Cosmos validators, that being Taxi Stake. So there'll be a governance proposal coming down the pipe here pretty soon to expand that relationship so that Taxi Stake can basically run an unchained cluster on behalf of the DAO. And there'll be like a reimbursement model and that kind of stuff in play, very transparently detailed and that kind of thing. So in so doing, we empower the DAO to run stuff for itself, and we take a huge step in the foundation being able to, at least the potential exists that we could start decommissioning stuff eventually some point when we actually have decent feature parity between the V2 app and the legacy environment.
Awesome. Super excited for DAO-owned infrastructure, especially as it relates to those validators. I think that could be huge. All right, we got a question from the community, and Perklin asks, so two things were mentioned. The DAO has no control over the foundation, and the foundation has no control over the DAO, and the foundation is very well funded. The question is, how many Fox tokens does or will the foundation hold, and how will these Fox tokens be used for governance votes that the DAO performs? It's a great question. So in the decentralization announcement, you can see the full token allocation, and the Fox Foundation received 75 million total Fox tokens, so 7.5% of the total supply. The first round of Fox farming, which is about 15.5 million or so, was sponsored by the foundation. So the rest of the Fox that we have left, this is basically our budget. Of course, we have no intentions to ever just sell Fox on the open market, but we're already talking to some interested parties about some OTC deals where we can basically trade some Fox for some stable coins to some strategic parties. And that's basically how we plan to fund the foundation. So we have a pretty healthy budget. We think it's more than we will need to achieve this mission. And the plan is that any resources that are left over at the end of this mission will be returned to the DAO. Does that answer in Perklin, or any follow-up questions there? Oh yeah, there's another follow-up question. How will those Fox tokens be used for governance votes that the DAO performs? This is a great question. This is something that we haven't really discussed yet. I don't think that we have any intentions to participate in governance actively. That said, the foundation, we do have these Fox tokens. There's no reason that we couldn't participate in governance. And one way I could imagine using it, I don't know, maybe if there was like a malicious proposal, especially as we get to full decentralization, we remove eventually the multi-sig from the Gnosis treasury so that the snapshot fully controls the treasury. The foundation, as long as it does have those Fox, could be there as a backstop in the event of like a malicious proposal. Someone figures out a way to borrow a bunch of Fox and tries to pass a malicious proposal to steal funds from the treasury. Then the foundation, in that event, of course, would use our Fox to vote against that malicious proposal. And yeah, 75 million votes is a lot. It's now 60 million is the amount we have now because we funded that first round of Fox farming.
Willie will have multi-sig in place, so any decisions to vote or do anything with those assets would not be a single individual. I believe would involve both the board as well as one or more of us at the foundation. Am I correct there?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely correct. So no individual is going to be holding all of the Fox. We are figuring out the exact setup, but we'll likely have we will have a board for the foundation. We have some awesome board members. One is Alex Lange, who's a partner at Inflection DC and was part of a firm that invested in ShapeShift. So he's very familiar with ShapeShift and very plugged into the Web3 space, as well as Bruce Fenton, who is an early Bitcoiner and also a ShapeShift investor. With the board that will hold the majority of the foundation's funds. And then there will be a separate multi-sig, most likely controlled by the foundation members, that will have kind of our annual budget or a smaller amount of the total treasury. And yes, so if we were ever to use those Fox to vote, it would have to be a joint decision from the multi-sig holders. It's a good question. I mean, what do you guys think? We haven't really discussed that yet. Do you guys agree with what I said there, that we don't really have plans to participate actively, but maybe in the event of an emergency, we could step in?
Yeah, I think it's.
Go on.
Go ahead, Conscious.
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100%. I don't. That is a lot of leverage, and I think it would probably. I don't know what would constitute a proper emergency for us to want us to come together and flex to that degree either. So.
Agreed.
Yeah,
I think it would have to be an extreme event. Go ahead, Ocean.
The other thing I was just going to add is just I think it's also important to just highlight that our incentives are heavily aligned with the DAO, right? All of us, our compensation is very much related to Fox, right? And so our incentive to be good stewards of this is aligned with the DAO's exactly. So I think that that's really important to highlight too. That kind of we're all incentivized with the same hopeful growth and success of the DAO.
Great point. And while we said that the DAO has no control over us, obviously, it's not in our best interest to upset the community or make decisions that the community does not align with. So again, if the community does have any requests for the foundation and stuff, we are here in the Discord and we're all open ears. Our mission is to help support you guys. All right, question from Never Was. Can members be voted out? Question mark. This is a great question. Another thing that we haven't quite talked about, hasn't come up yet, but yeah, I don't see any reason why not, right? You might be asking if members could be voted out by the community. Never Was. I was initially thinking, could members be voted out by the foundation? Which, of course, on the foundation side, I think there's a process for us to offboard somebody if necessary. But again, yeah, if the community really thought that there was an individual on the foundation that was acting out of the DAO's best interest, certainly a proposal could be made to just get signal from the community. Again, that proposal wouldn't necessarily be binding because there's no way to enforce that on the foundation. The DAO does not actually control the foundation. But again, if that were to happen, I do think that the foundation we would listen to the community in that event. And back to Ocean's point, yeah, I think our incentives very much are aligned. So.
Yeah, just one more. I mean, just as a centralized entity, we do have kind of the typical oversight of a board. That board is also comprised of members that are token holders to a large degree, right? And so I guess the efficacy of all of our positions and our performances for sure has the typical reporting structure that you would expect in a centralized entity. So if we aren't doing our jobs correctly, yes, there is a process by which we could be removed. I think it's also really important to, and maybe I'm the outsider here, but Conscious, Adam, and Willie have been working together for a number of years and are very senior in their roles and very trusted, I think, by the previous leaders of ShapeShift, and I think that vouches very highly for their ability to continue forward and operate in a way that's going to be successful. If they don't like me, then I'll just quit. But I think it's really important that we just highlight the level of seniority of the team and their previous history of being great stewards of ShapeShift, the brand.
Thanks, Ocean. Yeah, it really is a great point, and yeah, can't think of a better team of individuals to be working at the foundation with. And Never Was asks, so there is a board above the foundation. The answer to that is yes. We are working with a small board of two outside individuals, and I believe I think I also have a board seat. Maybe Eric or John can help clarify that. Yes, we're working with a really awesome strategic board that also has a lot of experience and trust built up with ShapeShift.
Yeah, I can just add on to that a little bit. And ultimately, this is just from the setup. But yeah, the foundation is set up with a board. Willie mentioned those team members ahead of time, and that is the ultimate oversight of the foundation. So the foundation employees and members, the people on stage, cannot just unilaterally decide to spend all the money or spend all the Fox. They would have to go through that board oversight. And they will be working closely with them, and I think we have a great board set up for this. So I'm very confident in that. but that is the kind of immediate oversight over the DAO or the foundation organization.
Some great questions for sure.
Yeah, these are some questions that we even ourselves need to probably discuss a little bit more. Just for transparency, we're actively in the process of setting up this foundation and figuring out exactly the answer to a lot of these questions. These are great questions, and
yeah, I mean the entities I don't even think officially formed yet. So I mean it's very new to all of us, and we're still in the process of coming together to craft some of the process that we need to abide by and meet with the board and all those pieces. But yeah, these are really great questions for us, definitely.
And yeah, maybe we could talk a little bit about the timeline there. I know we're right now we're working through just some of the administrative stuff of setting up the foundation. I think it involved things like passports having to be mailed and stuff. So we're working through that, but our goal is to have the foundation set up, have a bank account and everything before the end of the year.
The foundation will be in Liechtenstein, is where the entity will be set up formally. And someone asked about current guidelines for the foundation. And I think that we did discuss that, but just the really quick 2-second answer to that is to be stewards of the infrastructure that cannot be decentralized yet at this point, and to aid the DAO in places where it cannot act as a decentralized autonomous organization and needs the fallback of a centralized entity.
Exactly, and kind of like Giant Kim mentioned earlier in the stage chat too, kind of as a backup. It's like we're here for the long haul. We're here just to ensure that there's a dedicated team helping to push the DAO's mission itself forward as well. Yeah, Tyler, the board members did get mentioned by name. It's Alex Lange and Bruce Fenton. Thanks, Jeff, for posting that. All right, so we went on a little bit of a tangent there, answering some questions. That's great. Please keep the good questions coming. We'd love to talk about your plans, Ocean, for the IPFS hosted front end so that we can decentralize a critical piece of our currently centralized infrastructure.
Yeah. So one of the things that I think is important for us to do is Conscious was kind of talking about, is taking these small steps towards decentralization where we can, knowing that Fox Chain, while is probably an incredibly awesome solution, may not be a viable thing for us to have running, in the near term, right, the next couple months. So really looking for ways that we can still make incremental progress towards the decentralized future that we all want. So Conscience's proposal that he's working on with with basically an infrastructure that is directly owned by the DAO or ran by DAO members is a step towards that. Another step towards it would be an IPFS based front end, and so running the new V2 app in IPFS, and some very preliminary work's already been done there. Last week I deployed one of the development branches to IPFS just to see if it would function properly. And it seems like it does. So the lift there would probably be relatively small, but would involve us using a little bit different tooling than we are today. So there's some service providers like Fleek who are providing really nice CI/CD pipelines to IPFS, and they actually do accept crypto as well. So this would be an opportunity where something that is intended to be owned by the foundation, those CIDC pipelines currently are owned by the foundation or will be owned by the foundation, could be directly controlled by the DAO. And so small step, probably limited engineering work to get us to move over to the solution, but really puts us down just the right path as we keep trying to figure out what pieces we can get off of the foundation, or get off of like a centralized infrastructure also, and move towards IPFS. Some other benefits there are that's a very decentralized solution. We can make use of ENS-based domains, and so a lot of the censorship that could potentially exist goes away with the solution that we're proposing. So pretty cool. I'm pretty excited about it, and I think we'll probably be talking a lot more about that and seeing what specific engineering tasks would need to be either what specific tasks would need to be occurred to change the front end slightly with some of the kind of the intricacies of running it in the solution, and then what a migration would look like to get us to the new pipeline.
That's awesome. And so for the lay people in the audience too, can you explain kind of what this means just for the average user and for the DAO?
The cool thing for the average user is you might not notice anything. And that is the best kind of decentralization I think that we can all hope for. I think oftentimes that if decentralization comes with a big user experience hit, people aren't always willing to make that transition. But if you have used IPFS-based websites in the past, they are oftentimes just as good as their centralized counterparts. So that's kind of the cool thing, is that you wouldn't necessarily notice any differences just as a user. But for the DAO in general, it means that if we got, if AWS came and closed off somehow, a subpoena got served and, we lost AWS infrastructure, we wouldn't lose our front end. They couldn't change the domain name on us. This ENS is based off the Ethereum blockchain, and so it uses the naming service there to allow us to have a domain. And so this is all like a really great path for us because we shouldn't be beholden to a single service provider, even if it's Amazon. And that I think is a really, really great way for the DAO to continue moving forward.
Yeah, this is huge. And again, it's like a lot of the applications that call themselves decentralized right now are not really decentralized. A lot of the DAOs out there, I don't know how they're doing it, but I imagine it's some individual who is still hosting it. And anytime you have that, it's a central point of failure and of risk. So really excited to decentralize ourselves there, and I think that's going to be also really just compelling to a lot of these integrations and partners. We can offer them, an open source and truly decentralized interface that will really make their protocol and their application unstoppable. Super excited about that. All right, let's go back to, there's some conversation happening in the stage chat just around the amount of Fox that the foundation will have and what the guidelines are for how we use that, if at all, to vote. I do like a lot of the discussion that's happening there. I think I like Eric's suggestion to not necessarily promise to never vote on anything, but I do like limiting our potential powers there. I do think, I think that's something we can continue to discuss. We don't necessarily have to decide that right now, but I really like the idea of us coming up with, promising to never vote with at least a certain amount of tokens. Just putting some restrictions on it, basically, to limit our powers, but again, still be there, especially after we remove that multi-sig, just to ensure that we're progressively decentralizing, not just going full speed at once in a way that we can't go back on if there is an emergency.
Yeah, it's things are very early now too, and it's worth noting that we haven't even had the conversation about whether the foundation will be flexing voting power at all, because I think we're all pretty much on the same page unconsciously that we're not. So this is it's a good opportunity for us to talk about this internally and I guess codify that in some fashion that is publicly consumable and brings everybody great feels.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And to be clear, we haven't received any of this file yet, so right now we have no voting power. Maybe we can make a goal to propose something to the community, or at least come up with those restrictions before we even receive the Fox tokens.
Yeah, I think that in general, like, the foundation aims to operate in a way that is transparent with the community. Obviously, as Eric pointed out, and it's been stated, that there needs to be a distinction between the DAO and the foundation, and that's beneficial for the DAO and the foundation, right? If we're seen as the same, then the DAO no longer is actually a decentralized autonomous organization in the eyes of many jurisdictions. And so separating us is important, but we do want to act in a way that is transparent to the community. And so I think that that's reasonable that we would put out some sort of idea of, or some guidelines about when we would or would not vote. But ultimately that is the foundation's ability to set those guidelines.
Really, really great point, Ocean. And yeah, thank you to Imperkle and to the community for bringing this up. I think it's a great point and something that we're absolutely happy to discuss. I think it's a great topic for our next foundation setup meeting. All right. Another exciting area that the foundation is discussing support of the DAO in is this Fox contributor program. I'll pass it over to Ocean. He's really the vision behind this one.
Yeah, sorry, I was just scrolling through all of the stage chat. It's hard to keep track of all the awesome conversation going on in there. Really appreciate all of the community and the input here. This is what makes working in a DAO or the foundation for the DAO so awesome. So thank you guys all for that. One of the things that we as a foundation feel really strongly about is making sure that we help to grow and foster the open source community that will ultimately make this DAO succeed. And that kind of starts with us thinking about the developer experience. That means everything from how we attract new open source developers, contributors, to what their onboarding experience is like, just pulling down that first repo and being able to write their first line of code, to what our ongoing retention looks like and how we keep these developers active and engaged in a world where there's so many projects vying for their attention. And so one of the things that we're working on right now is the ability to coalesce the data across all of our open source repos, so we know when a new contributor submits their first pull request. And then we want to make sure that that person's highlighted every week during probably the engineering call that happens, the engineering and product call that happens on Mondays. And then that we reach out to that individual, right? That we thank them for their contributions. We try to get to know them, why they've contributed to, why they've chosen to be a part of this, and getting their feedback. So we hope to get the data that we need set up in a way that is also publicly consumable with a dashboard, so everyone can look at some of the community stats around the kind of development progress and contributors as the DAO grows. And that is something that, again, it's early on about how we'll exactly do all this stuff, but as simple as right now, just highlighting new contributors and reaching out to them. And then also probably giving out some Fox to those contributors as they come in, as a way of asking them and hoping that they get involved in governance too, because that's really how I think we'll keep people involved, right? Is that they have a sense of ownership, that I've contributed code, now I'm a member of this DAO, and it means something to me, is the way that I think will keep people here. So if people have thoughts on that, probably a great thing to shoot into the partnership channel that we have set up, because we would love to get feedback on that, how we can make it better. Whether you're a developer or not, we want your inputs there, and pretty excited to roll that out over the coming weeks.
I'm super excited about this too, Ocean, and I definitely agree. It's probably one of the most critical things for our success is figuring out how can we make it really smooth onboarding for interested contributors to get involved and start adding value quickly and smoothly, and then keep them around, make sure that they're having a good time and want to continue contributing. Ultimately, it all the DAO success all comes down to people and talent at the end of the day. So really excited that you're focused on this and that you bring a lot of really great experience to the table with building these open source communities. Incredibly valuable experience for what we're working on. I know, when we set out to fill this position for the foundation, we recognized that this wasn't something that ShapeShift was as strong in as we could be. And I'm talking about just experience building these open source projects and building communities with developers around them. So we're really, really excited to find Ocean, because he has that exact experience. And he also happens to have a great deal of crypto and Web3 experience too. So it was really an awesome fit. And I'm so glad that you're already, working on these things even before the foundation is formed, Ocean.
Yeah, thanks for that. It's exciting to me. It's really fun. It's something that I really missed about working in a centralized company when I left crypto. It's just one of the coolest things about what we get to do here is that we have people from all over the world that come and contribute to our project, and like the diversity of ideas, the diversity of thought that occurs with that is really nice. You don't often get that at a centralized company, because either you're geographically located, somewhere, and the people that are attracted to that company are typically in that geography, or maybe you're at a bigger company, like my experience at Amazon, but still there's a certain type of person that wants to go be a developer or an engineer at Amazon, and you don't get that much diversity in how people think about problems, and so it's it's a joy, and I'm excited to see the DAO grow and get to be a part of that.
So awesome. So another thing that the foundation is going to be supporting the ShapeShift product with is just running the backend infrastructure for all these nodes for Unchained. So as you guys know, the plan eventually is for FoxChain to be launched. And Perklin gave a presentation on that a few weeks ago. And once that's in place, then the foundation will no longer need to run these nodes, which is a big expense for us. And something, again, that's a big part of our centralization is servers that right now ShapeShift controls, soon the foundation will control to host these nodes and to provide this blockchain data to users. So one thing that we are definitely interested in supporting with our budget is FoxChain. So we'll need to talk within Perklin about that and figure out what the best way for us to do that is. But that's just one thing as we figure out our budget, that we do have some funds earmarked just to support the development of FoxChain, both because that's, again, critical for our mission to achieve full decentralization, and is also, once we can decentralize that and stop running those servers ourselves, we'll be able to eliminate a pretty significant expense. All right, any questions from the community? I think that's pretty much everything that we had on our talk about. Or any other thoughts from Conscience or Adam we want to share? While we wait for questions.
I'm super bullish on the IPFS stuff Ocean was talking about. I didn't jump in earlier, but the benefits there in terms of being censorship resistant, and yeah, definitely stoked to get that done.
So
Further
I have a
our
question for you
mission
all.
there.
Just you just talked a little bit about this, Willie, and I think that was great, especially on the idea of potentially the foundation maybe helping fund some of the development of FoxChain would be super cool. Could you all talk a little more about what you're thinking in terms of other projects the foundation may or may not help with, in terms of like either either contracting people in the community to help develop on behalf, to support the DAO, and or things you might use Fox as bounties for? There was a lot of talk about whether or not the foundation would use its Fox for governance, and I think that was covered well. But I think one of the intentions was hopefully that the foundation has a good budget of Fox it can use on like bounties and things like that. I'd love to hear more about all of your thoughts on that.
Some of my earliest preliminary thoughts so far are revolving around, we've got this V2 app that we just launched in alpha, which is a wonderful experience already. But, ShapeShift also has this mobile app, right? Which is where the lion's share of most of its user interactions are. So at some point, we are going to need to build a new ecosystem to support, ideally, right? If we want full feature parity and ease of user interaction and reducing friction with the ecosystem, that kind of stuff, we're going to want to stand up, I don't know if it's whatever it's going to be, if it's a new GraphQL layer with a new mobile app or whatever the case may be, then so be it. But if the DAO itself doesn't have resources to commit to that project, then I don't see any reason why the foundation wouldn't try to bounty that out just in order to hasten the velocity at which we achieve full feature parity with the existing ShapeShift software ecosystem.
Yeah, well said, Conscience. And I think just on the macro level, I think a big part of what we're going to be initially is supporting the existing infrastructure that currently runs beta.shapeshift.com and the mobile app, the infrastructure that those apps are dependent on. But one of our initial primary missions is going to be to support the DAO in getting to feature parity with beta.shapeshift.com and the mobile app, so that we can sunset those applications, sunset auth eventually. That's going to be a challenge in the sense that we need to do that smoothly and make sure that the users who have signed up with auth to create a wallet but may not have backed up their wallet have a path where they can still recover their seed phrase after those apps are sunset. So that's definitely going to be one of our main focuses for the next year is supporting the DAO in sunsetting those existing apps where most of our users are, while still retaining as many of those users as we can and migrating them to the new decentralized open source versions of ShapeShift.
So I'll just add a little bit there. Go ahead, Adam. You do it.
So I was just going to say, we absolutely have goals to push sort of a contributor program where we're looking for new contributors, at least on a weekly basis, if not more, identifying them, sort of welcoming in, tipping. I would also be fully on board for a wide range of bounties to support marching towards feature parity, like be it mobile, be it web, be it an Electron app, Fox chain, whatever it is. I think I kind of see that as one of our key roles is to keep recruiting and bringing fresh talent in and spreading the contributors, as wide as we can around the world, really.
Yeah, I'll just echo that. Basically, that definitely the program that we're looking at kicking off would definitely make use of some of that budget, both in terms of those just kind of initial tips, but also for continued engagement with contributors. I think one of the things that we as we're working on our budget would be just some amount of, I guess, flexible spend where, as we're talking to these contributors, oftentimes they may have really great ideas about things that aren't really necessarily on our radar or thinking about. And so I would imagine that flexible spend, and, as part of that program would allow these contributors to ideate on things that aren't on our radar and still, maybe we still want to basically create bounties for things that we weren't thinking about too. So yeah, the feature parity one's definitely, I think, heavily on our minds. Certainly, it's really aligned with our mission to get rid of ourselves. But I think there's also a lot of other areas that aren't well defined yet that we will allocate budget to that will probably be a little bit flexible and hope that it really spurs like a blossoming of ideas of areas that the DAO can grow in.
Totally.
Great. Thanks, Alia.
I think also there's talk about the Apple and Android App Store accounts. This is the great example of something that the DAO can't currently manage itself. So something that the foundation will be managing, but we'll be actively looking for a solution to that and to replace that, because our goal eventually is to go away. And as long as there's a dependency on the foundation to manage those apps in the store, then there will be a need for us to exist. But part of the bet here is that in the coming years, if we continue to see the trend that we're seeing in DAOs, we'll see solutions created that we don't even necessarily have to create ourselves. So that could be a company that gets created to help DAOs manage apps in the store. Or maybe Apple just decides to update their policies and enable DAOs to manage apps. So basically, like things like that, the foundation is going to be looking for either solutions to transition control over to the DAO, or if it just becomes impossible and Apple actually says, hey, you know what, no DAOs can ever have an app in the store, then we'll need to come up with a replacement, basically a creative alternative that does not, that the DAO can manage itself without any centralized entity or single point of failure. And we were just talking about that recently. Just being in the App Store is a central point of failure. So one conversation that has not yet been decided, but if any of you guys have used the mobile app, or the new open source web app on mobile, you'll notice that it actually works really well. It's a really smooth experience already. So there's a possibility to take that and wrap it so it still is an actual app in the App Store. But in the event that Apple were just to shut down all crypto apps, for example, users could always just save the website to their home screen, and then it would still feel very much like an app. So those are the types of creative alternatives that we're thinking about, just to ensure that even in the event of these corporations that we're beholden to, like Apple and Android, potentially trying to shut us down, we could still be unstoppable and give users a path to use ShapeShift that Apple and Google could not prevent. And part of that goes back to being hosted on having the website itself, the front end hosted on IPFS. Another piece is the DNS there. Another central point of corporate potential failure. And so ENS is a solution where we can basically have our ENS name, as long as browsers support it, point to the IPFS hosted front end. So we got ShapeShiftDAO.eth. So you can imagine a user typing ShapeShiftDAO.eth on their browser and seeing the ShapeShift app. Hopefully we can get ShapeShift.eth. Somebody else owns that one, and we have not been able to identify who it is. And we've made some offers, but they have not even responded to those offers. So
if anyone in the community happens to know who ShapeShift.eth is, please let us know.
They've got some good ones too. They've got BNB, Mana.eth. They're in ENS well. So yeah, never. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Will.
I'm just going to throw. I was going to throw in that all the principles that you were just speaking about with regard to the front end and IPFS and the censorship resistance and that there have like a direct parallel in FoxChain. That's super, super exciting, where that sort of gives us that same unstoppable, not beholden to a single provider for the backend.
Totally. It's going to be so cool, and we can offer a full stack, a decentralized full stack, basically, in open source as well, all the way from the wallet to the front end to the blockchain infrastructure itself, with abstraction layers in between. I know we all just think that it's so freaking cool, because it really is, and it's needed. It's like a critical piece of infrastructure in this decentralized feature that does not yet exist, and that's what we're building. Pretty freaking awesome. John, I think we all agree too that it's a huge advantage for the DAO to have apps in the store, especially because the apps are already installed on like over hundreds of thousands of devices and actively used by over 100,000 users. So agreed, we will not give that up unless we have to. But it is good to know that even in the event that something out of our control happens, we could have a backup plan. And we were even just joking about it that if that were to happen, it's an extreme scenario of like Apple or Android shutting down our app. Worst case, we could at least have that backup plan and maybe make some good PR out of it, kind of like Epic Games did when they got kicked out. Trying to make it into a kind of a David and Goliath story.
Totally. I mentioned in the chat that I think it's great to have alternatives. So having the ability to be able to use the web app in that way and like add it to your home screen is awesome. I just don't think it should be as a replacement to having the app in the store. It's just an added benefit and a backup plan, like you said.
Totally.
Yeah, sometimes decentralization just means having lots of options for one plan fails. So that there's not a single point where we lose a whole bunch of users just because of that. And certainly being non-custodial goes a long way to facilitate that.
100%. Another area of focus for the foundation, something that I plan to continue focusing on, is just fully decentralizing the DAO stack and framework. So we've already done a really great job, I think, setting this up. We have a DAO stack that is more decentralized than most DAOs, and is also still very efficient and useful. But we still have a ways to go before we can say we're fully decentralized. There is a multi-sig on the DAO right now. Plan is for that to get removed, and ultimately it's up to the community. The community can decide to remove that at any point, but it's definitely served useful so far. Also, like the forum. Right now we use Discourse forum, and that is something that I think right now ShapeShift is paying for, and the foundation can pay for that until we figure out a way for either the DAO again to pay for that, or maybe somebody launches a completely decentralized Discourse alternative. And if that were to happen, then that would be one of the items on our roadmap that before we go away, we need to come up with an alternative or solution for that. So just areas like that, just basically like the way I think about it is just looking at where we are now and what we need for the DAO to be fully decentralized, and basically coming up with a roadmap of each of those key dependencies and just one by one, either replacing those or coming up with a way to transition control to the DAO. It's going to be certainly not an easy mission, and a lot of these solutions don't yet even exist. But part of the bet here is that we may not even have to solve all these problems ourselves, because these are challenges for us. These are going to be challenges, and there's a lot of projects, getting created every week now, of trying to solve these various problems, because if the trend with DAOs continue, these are going to be valuable problems to solve.
Yeah.
Right, final thoughts? Yeah, please, Ocean.
No, I was just gonna thank the community again. There's like 65 people here. That's really great. In terms of just the engagement that happened during this call, wonderful. All the questions and feedback. Some things for us to think about. And also just wanted to highlight again that we did create a public channel in Partner 2 called Fox Foundation, I believe. So if you do want to get in contact with us, have questions about anything we talked about today or stuff going forward, we would love that communication and that feedback. So feel free to post there. We have email addresses too, but probably Discord's easier for everyone.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. Thanks, community. Thank you, Fox Foundation members. What do you guys think? Should we share the sneak peek of the foundation website, or is it too soon?
Will's really proud of his website.
I'm proud. I don't get to build websites a lot, so this is a fun project for me last night. I was very proud of this image. But if you guys think it's too much, let us know. We'll understand. It's a very simple website. We just wanted to have some information out there. We're working on adding some information for the team. Hoff, I definitely want your feedback on this. I was actually planning on probably hitting you up to see if I could get your help polishing it, making it look really good.
Should I actually plug that into the homepage for our domain?
Yeah, I think we can go ahead and point Fox Foundation at it.
Too funny.
Awesome. Thank you all so much, and hope to see you guys in the Discord, in the metaverse. Please don't be shy. Come say hi. We're here to help.
Yeah. Thanks again, everyone. And we exist because you guys are here. So it's this really cool opportunity that we all get to do this stuff because of you. So thanks.
Thanks, everybody. See you guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Grazie mille.